Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 9:40 a.m. We're crossing over to Palestine and we're going to be talking with Nebal Farsakh, spokesperson for the Palestine Red Crescent Society. We do know we've managed to get all of those reports regarding Israeli having killed over 145 in Gaza in less than 24 hours. Assalamu alaikum to you, Nebal. Welcome to the program. I'm very sad that we've got to be talking about such horrors with you. We know also that in the last 24 hours alone, apartheid Israel airstrikes have killed at least 146 Palestinians. What does this number represent beyond statistics? What are you seeing and experiencing on the ground?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. In the past 24 hours, Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 146 Palestinians in Gaza, with hundreds more injured. The figure represents not just a statistic, but a profound human tragedy, reflecting the immense suffering and loss experienced by families on the ground. The intensification of Israel's ground invasion has left Palestinian families with no safe refuge and a collapsing health system, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Early this morning, there was a horrific and sudden repeated attacks at Khan Yunis, which resulted in killing many people as well as the injuries of dozens. The situation remains horrific in north of Gaza, where also many homes have been bombed, hospitals are still besieged. So the situation, even it can't be described by word. Families left without any safe place to go to, and every day there is more evacuation orders for families who have been left with no options. Every day, families have to take impossible decisions. If they stay, they will die. If they leave, they might also die because there is no humanitarian corridors and they don't know where to go since there is no spaces or places left. Israel forced people to go to Al Mawasi area, which is claimed to be a humanitarian zone, but this area even was targeted repeatedly, and also it's overwhelmed. People, there's no place for a new people, and we have seen many families even are just in the streets, not knowing where to go.
We understand, as you've also indicated, that hospitals like the Nasser hospital has been bombed, despite being clearly marked and known as civilian facilities. These obviously are considered as being deliberate attacks on healthcare. Would you agree?
Well, indeed, hospitals like Nasser and Khan Yunis have been bombed multiple times despite being clearly marked civilian facilities. These repeated attacks suggest a pattern that raises serious concern about the deliberate targeting of healthcare infrastructure. So now, not only what happened today with Nasser Hospital, the Indonesian hospital has been besieged since yesterday. The situation there is extremely dangerous. Patients, critical patients, along with a limited number of staff, have been left inside the hospital. There is repeated attacks, gunfire at the hospital. The hospital has been taken out of service. No one is able to get into the hospital. Only those medical staff and patients have been left behind under extremely dangerous conditions, calling for the international community to intervene to protect the hospitals. Few days ago, Gaza, the European Gaza hospital in Khan Yunis was attacked too and rendered out of service. So these repeated attacks at hospitals have left the majority of hospitals out of service. Now, only few hospitals are still operational. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Dozens of new injuries came in every hour, and at the same time, hospitals suffer because of the extreme shortages of medications and medical supplies. They only operate partially. Medical staff trying their best to save lives, but under very serious conditions. Since the beginning of the war in Gaza, Israel has been systematically targeting the healthcare system, attacking paramedics, medical teams, hospitals, ambulances, making it even almost impossible to operate. However, doctors and nurses, paramedics, our colleagues trying their best to continue providing their life saving services despite the dangerous conditions they are operating under and despite the shortages of basic supplies and medications.
So undoubtedly, they have weaponized the whole medical system. And I kind of wonder how your paramedics, medical teams are managing to do their jobs because they're putting their lives at risk as well. Even ambulances are targeted. And we know right from the start of this genocide, hospitals seem to have been the first target. And now you're saying that basic supplies are blocked. Medical supplies, obviously. So they've weaponized healthcare in Gaza, and of course, we also know they've weaponized human aid in the form of food. Um, Israel has gone on to announce that it will now, they are saying they're going to let in a basic amount of food, but only having cut off aid for months. And they've already created famine conditions in Gaza. How do you respond to this controlled drip of aid after mass suffering has already occurred?
Well, for sure, this limited aid is insufficient to address the extensive humanitarian needs, and it's the situation on the ground is beyond catastrophic. And as we have said repeatedly, um, now there is a catastrophic risk of food insecurity and famine in Gaza. More than 2 months have passed since all the humanitarian aid and commercial supplies were blocked from entering the Gaza Strip. Items key to people's survivals are either depleted or expected to run out in the coming weeks. The entire population is facing high levels of acute food insecurity, with 500,000 people facing starvation with the ongoing blockade, the lack of humanitarian access, and skyrocketing food prices. The situation is only expected to worsen. Further to this, the situation is causing a massive increase in malnutrition, with nearly 71,000 children at risk of acute malnutrition, including 14,000 severe cases. This means people, especially children, pregnant women, are at risk of life-threatening situation, suffering from extreme weight loss, weaknesses, and vulnerability to infections. Without urgent treatment, malnutrition can lead to death. This is not a solution. What we call for is unlimited, unimpeded humanitarian aid access. We need all border crossings to be open, and we need enough aid to get in so we can distribute this life saving aid to all the people of Gaza.
Nebal, you talk about food prices being totally unaffordable. And what comes to mind for me is amidst all of that devastation, the genocide, the madness that is going on in Gaza, how can, I'm kind of wondering, do people even manage to do a bit of work so that they have money to pay for food? Or is that just an totally impossible situation?
It is an impossible situation. Prices for food have soared, with like wheat flour costing as much as $520 for 25 kilo a gram in Gaza City and Khan Yunis. So this is a 3,000% increase since February of this year. Latest data show many households restoring to extreme coping strategies, including people trying like to collect and sell garbage for food. These information just came in from the IPC Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Report, which was released earlier this month. Many humanitarian organizations who used to provide hot meals have stopped recently because they run out of food. The situation is only getting worse. Many parents had to stay without food only to save little food for their children. It is a daily struggle for civilians in Gaza to obtain very little food just to survive.
We also understand that fuel shortages have disabled most ambulances, and even those ambulances that do go out are at risk of being bombed. And then, with 75% of your emergency vehicles already grounded, how are you reaching the wounded, and how many lives are being lost as a result?
Well, due to the ongoing closure of the border crossings, the prevention of a fuel entry into the Gaza Strip for over 2 months, the Palestine Red Crescent operational capacity, we only work with a third of our ambulances' operational capacity. The rest ambulances stopped because of the gas depletion. As for the civil defense team, they also announced that only 75% of their vehicles had stopped, either because of the fuel depletion or because of maintenance issues, as many necessary maintenance parts are not allowed also to get into the Gaza Strip. So this means it has a very negative impact on civilians population in the Gaza Strip, because we know there is intensified attacks that are happening everywhere across all of the Gaza Strip. And despite dozens of people being injured, few ambulances are left operational, few civil defense vehicles are left operational. And this means that dozens of injuries maybe will be left without being able to receive the necessary emergency medical care because of the catastrophic healthcare system, because of the closure of the all borders and not allowing anything to get in, including fuel, medications, medical supplies as well.
And of course, medical personnel in medical facilities being targeted on an ongoing basis. Nebal, are there any international protections actually working on the ground for medical personnel, or has the Red Crescent been effectively abandoned by the world?
Unfortunately, since the beginning of the war in Gaza, Israel is systematically targeting the healthcare system and targeting the Palestine Red Crescent facilities. Our hospitals have been bombed, our ambulances have been bombed, all of our facilities, despite bearing the Red Crescent emblem, which should be protected under international humanitarian law. At least 30 of our ambulances were taken out of service because of the Israeli attacks. I have lost almost 30 colleagues who were killed in line of duty in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip. All of them were killed while wearing the Red Crescent emblem. Many of my colleagues were injured, dozens others were arrested, and unfortunately, the international community failed to provide protection and failed to provide also accountability. None of these war crimes, none of those who have been committed these crimes were held into account, and these attacks are still happening on a regular basis, as what happened or is still happening now in the Indonesian hospital, or just happened early this morning at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis.
The world watches as entire Palestinian families are wiped out in one single airstrike. What do you want to say to governments that continue to support apartheid Israeli military, or perhaps those who just remain silent?
Well, our message for these countries and for the international community, that civilians in Gaza are paying the high price. They are being targeted and killed without any prior warning. Entire families have been wiped out. Total neighborhoods have been razed to the ground. What is happening is just unacceptable, and no human being should suffer. Parents are just feeling helpless. They can't protect their families. They can't protect their children. There is no safe places have been left. Hospitals have been bombed. Ambulances have been bombed. Tents have been bombed. Homes, UN facilities. There is no safe places left for Palestinians in Gaza. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you are a children, if you are a pregnant woman, if you're a doctor, a nurse, a paramedic, or whatsoever, everyone is being targeted without any consequences. We call for the international community to take serious measures to protect civilians and medical personnel and the humanitarians, as the international community says that civilians and the humanitarians are not targets.
Sadly, it seems as if international institutions have turned a blind eye to what many of us are calling ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. Do you have any hope that this madness is going to stop sometime soon? How do you in Gaza and the work that you're doing and the people that you're assisting manage to survive from day to day or continue moving from day to day?
Well, the situation is even can't be described by words. It's not just like we manage, but we have been left without any choices. There is continuous attacks that are happening every single day. Borders are completely closed. We have not seen in any conflict that people are being trapped under continuous bombs day and night with no safe places, and they are being trapped in just like a prison, not allowed to be evacuated or travel or whatsoever. You're talking about even thousands of patients who need medical evacuations, who face really threat of die because of not receiving the health care, since there is no opportunity for them to receive a treatment inside of Gaza, and they are also denied traveling. It's just an impossible choices. It's not even a choice. As I said, it's an everyday struggle where they have to struggle to find food for survival. You have to struggle and fight to obtain water for use, or even a drinkable water for your family. And every single day you have to run and flee again and again because of new places being attacked. It's just a situation where it's impossible, but unfortunately there is no other options. I don't think there is any human being in this world can handle such horrific, insane circumstances.
And as the world watches these horrors playing out in Gaza and Palestine, and as the Palestinian people uh, experience the genocide and ethnic cleansing, we keep you on our ongoing du'as. Nebal Farsakh, you are the spokesperson for the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. We pray for all of your safety and we pray for this madness to stop. Go well. God bless and salamu alaikum to you.
Alaikum salam. Thanks for having me.
It is exactly 9:59, time for us to wrap up in a very safe South Africa, where we are blessed with absolutely everything. A home, roofs over our head, food, and a million things more. So let's take a quick ad break and we'll be back with you in a minute or two.
Of your dreams and surround yourself with his